Alright, so we're going to be talking about proportionality and deciding if these things are proportional or not. So if they're proportional, then we want to write an equation that shows our proportionality. So for example, the example they gave here is property tax and appraised value of your house. And the answer is yes, they're proportional, because your tax is going to be some constant times the value of your house. That tax amount changes every year. So that means K is going to be the tax divided by the house value, and both of these are dollar amounts. So this is called a unitless proportion, or a unitless constant. Okay? Here's another one. The population of a region and the area of the region. Well, the area can't change. So if the population doubles, that means that the area doesn't double. It means that the area stays the same. Maybe the population doubled because they built high-rise apartments or something. So no, these are not proportional. The volume of water and the weight of water, yes, they're proportional. The more water that you have, the heavier the bucket would be. So the weight would equal the volume times some constant. Population of New York City and the population of New York State. No, they're not proportional. If you double the size of, if you double the population in one city, that does not mean that you doubled the population in the entire state. So for example, Spotsylvania County could double their population this year, but that doesn't mean Virginia doubled. So that doesn't necessarily mean the whole state's going to double. So intuitive definition means that they're directly proportional. If you double one, then the other one also has to double. So we're going to do a few more examples. So here's another one. The number of babies born in a year and the number of women that were aged 12 to 45, which would be the age that women could have children. And the answer is no. And the reason that they're not proportional is because these variables can be affected by a lot of other things. So if the economy's bad, you might have people that don't decide not to have children. Women might not choose to have children during a certain period of time. So the number of babies doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who automatically turns 12 to 45 years old is going to start having children. So they're not proportional. Okay, our next one. Okay, so for this one we're talking about the cost of buying tickets and the number of tickets. So yes, they're proportional. So your cost is going to increase if you buy more tickets. So if I double the number of tickets I buy, then the cost is going to double. If I buy fewer tickets, then the cost is going to decrease by the same amount. The height of a digital photograph and the width of a digital photograph. I'm going to say yes. This is debatable because you can technically make the photo taller without making it wider, but then you usually get a little distortion. So I'm going to say yes, these are proportional, and you would multiply some constant times the width to get that height. The number of accidental deaths in 2005 and the number of motor vehicle deaths. Well, no, they're not proportional, because accidental death does not necessarily involve motor vehicles. It could be falling down and hurting yourself or having an accident and dying. So they're not necessarily proportional. The cups of sugar and the cups of flour in a pancake recipe. If you want the pancakes to taste the same all the time, then yes, they should be proportional. So it would be something like sugar equals flour times the constant. Your IQ versus your GPA. So no. So let's say that my GPA goes up from 1.0 to 2.0 because I decided to do extra work or I got extra tutoring or something else. That doesn't mean my IQ has now doubled. So they're not proportional. Distance to work and the time that it takes to get to work. Assuming that you travel at a constant speed, then you would travel the same distance every time. So yes, this is a proportional thing. Distance equals whatever your rate is times the time. K would be your rate. So number 12, the distance to a celestial object and the speed at which it is receding from us. This is something I'm not very familiar with, but you could look it up if you want to. And this is yes, and it's called Hubble's constant. You can look that up if you want to get more information about that. The last two, euros to dollars. So I understand that the rate of exchange does change periodically, but it is constant when it is at a certain rate. And so yes, the rate of change is a proportion, and you would do something like euros equals the rate of change times the dollar amount. The miles you drive and the gallons of gas you use. Yes, they would be proportional, because if you drive more miles, then the number of gallons of gas will increase. So that's what they're talking about with proportional and non-proportional and writing equations. And this was page 23 and 24 in your workbook.